All right, Gene Deal. Glad to have you. How's it going?
Cam TV. I guess this is gonna be my last one for the year, huh?
That's it. Your last interview for the year, man. You've been going crazy, man. You've been doing your thing for quite a long time, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, being that this is, our first time working, I just thought we'd kind of, get to know you a little bit better and kind of get to know your story a little bit, man. Can you kind of tell everybody about, where you from, where you grew up, and what it was like for you?
Well, I originally grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and then I moved to a small little uh, county called Wellston. It had probably like 6,000 people that lived in there. It was right next to the city from the Wellston bus loop. I lived right there at the end of the Wellston bus loop. I grew up in that area, played basketball for, it was Estridge, which is Wellston Halter High School. I led the state of Missouri and rebounded in 1980 and 81. I went on to Jefferson College, was a JUCO All-Star, and then went up and finished at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, played basketball there up until 86 with Gerald Wilkins, who was New York Knickerbocker. I was a second leading scorer and second leading rebounder at Chattanooga. Then I graduated with a bachelor's in literature. Went on to New York City 3 days after I graduated, but I had always been coming to New York from '82 because I was dating a young lady uh, back then. So I have started going to New York in '82 and eventually made it my home when I graduated from college in '86.
How'd you get into bodyguarding?
I was working as a youth uh, counselor for Manhattan Valley Youth Program, and they needed somebody to bodyguard and drive this group called Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's a gospel group. And I bodyguarded them and drove them to Carnegie Hall, made sure all their stuff was straight. And then from that point on, um, I became doing security and everything for our clique, which was called the Same Gang. The Same Gang was a organization because back then a lot of organizations was coming up in Harlem. You had the Same Gang, Best Out, Mecca Audio, CMB, Cash Money Brothers, uh, 12th Street Posse, Slick and the Family. You had Best Out, you had the All Stars, you had the 40 Wolves. It's just a lot of crews that was coming up. And we started our own crew, and I was doing the security for our own crew when we was giving parties, functions, and the whole 9 yards. Outside of doing the security, I also was doing the planning of all the events that we were doing.
And at what point do you meet Diddy? And how do you meet Diddy?
Oh, you got to that one real quick, huh? He the one of the guys who is ASAP Ferg's father, uh D Ferg. He had designed the logo for Uptown Records and the logo for Bad Boy. And Puff was giving parties at the Red Zone and at the buildings, and he was having problems at his parties as far as he had to take the money back to Kirk Burroughs, which was on 111th and Fifth Avenue at Kirk's Burrow apartment, and he was just having a lot of problems. I guess somebody was pushing up on him, and then D. Ferg asked Puff to, he said, "Yo, why don't you get Gene to hold you down? Gene will hold you down." So that's when I met him. That was back in probably '89, about '89, '88, somewhere around there.
So this was before Puff blew up, or what was he doing at the time? Like, was he
Uh, he was giving parties at the Red Zone, and he was giving parties at the building. Building, that's when they was doing Unsigned Hype. You know, people like Leaders of the New School, Naughty by Nature, Queen Latifah, different groups was coming. The new groups, they were breaking those artists. You remember that place where they shot Juice at? You know, when they had the DJ contest? Have you
Yep.
seen the movie Juice?
Yep.
Was that Yeah.
Yep.
When they had the DJ contest, that was the building. So Puff was doing the Monday night unsigned hype there. He was also an intern and working over at Uptown Records.
Okay. Or during that time. Okay. And what was Puff like back then?
Like nothing. Quiet as a church mouse. He didn't make any noise around us. The dudes, they had a lot of wild guys in the same gang. And he was just back watching. You know, he didn't make any noise. He was real meek and humble, you know. He wanted to be around us.
At that point in time, did you see like how big Puff was gonna be? Like, did anybody think, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this dude's he's gonna be incredible.
Actually, this guy named Alpo, Alberto Martinez, who was a known drug dealer in New York City, he knew Puff was giving parties back in DC. And we was on 144th Street and Puff was in a white cabriolet, one of those Volkswagens with the top off. And then Al asked D Ferg, like, yo, what's up with dude right there? You know who that is? He said, D Ferg, like, yeah, that's my man Puff. He said, yeah, I know. He used to give parties in DC. And Al said out his mouth, and I heard Al say he didn't know Puff was gonna blow up like that. But Al told D Ferg right then and there, he said, yo, that nigga he gonna blow up in the city here, giving them parties and everything. So then that's one of the reasons why D Ferg allowed him to be in the same gang, based on what Al was telling us.
What point did you become, more involved with Puff? Was it from
The
the
point when
gate?
I came on, I was at the City College thing when those 9 people died. So I was doing parties for the different crews, which was part of the record industry. It was a guy called Tim Dog. He was an A&R for Uptown Records. And then he went to Island Records, Arista Records. He was the one who was the boss of, he was the manager and founder of uh, the Lost Boys. So I was doing they parties, which was a part of a group called Butt Naked, Tim Dog Entertainment and Butt Naked. So Heavy D had gave his birthday party. And I have a picture where uh, Puff and everybody was there at Heavy D's birthday party. And I did the front door because they was having issues at the front door. A lot of front doors was getting bum rushed and everything. So I got my team together and I used to have my team and 2 dogs, and that would stop a lot of people from bum rushing the doors and everything, trying to get in those events. So Puff was having a basketball game, him and Heavy D at City College. And they asked me to do the security. So I had got 18 guys ready to do the security. And then Puff called me the day of, about 4 hours before, and said, we only need 8 of your guys. We got the Nation of Islam to do the security. And Nation of Islam did the security at the front door. I had the basketball court, and they had a riot at the front door. And if you look in the history, in December of 91, that's when like 9 kids had died at the basketball game that Puff was sponsoring. And that's when he got fired from Uptown Records. When he got fired from Uptown Records, he took Craig Mack and Biggie with him, and the dudes who was a part of Butt Naked Entertainment actually was getting indicted, and they was the one who was financing Bad Boy at the time. And they were getting indicted, and they end up getting 9, 16 to life sentences. And Puff went on taking Bad Boy for himself and getting a bigger deal with Clyde Davis. and he became, you know, Bad Boy Entertainment. I didn't deal with Puff after the City College incident until he had a situation with Suge Knight in Atlanta.
That was your first time being more involved with Puff, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, you
What
know,
time?
like I said, I was doing the building with him. This was way before he became, you know, it was called Daddy's House. So I was dealing with Puff before anybody. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, right,
Before
right,
Wolf,
right.
all those guys. You got to realize this is back in uh 89, 90, 91, all the way up to City College. Wolf and them wasn't around at that time. Then I left them alone after they had that incident, and then we had an incident with Wolf. Wolf came back and got me and said, yo, he wanted me to be a part of the team probably the day after they had that situation with Suge Knight. And then I
Okay.
said, I didn't want to, and I told him I didn't want to deal with Puff. He said, yo, bro, just look out for him. You got your own contract. You ain't got to answer to nobody but him and me.
So Puff brings you on. You're part of the team.
Wolf brought me on. Wolf brought me on.
Wolf brings you on. Okay. Wolf brings you on. You're part of the team now,
Huh?
man. And then Puffy's getting this bad boy thing off the ground. And, you know, what is your feelings about Bad Boy and Puff? And, you know, are you seeing like this is going to be huge?
But you got to realize I was around Puff only 2 days out the week, or when they had special occasions, or when they went out of town, something like that, because I worked a full-time job. So I had Puff on Saturdays and Sundays. And if they were at the club and I was off of work, they'll call me, yo, Gene, we at this club, can you make it? Yo, Gene, you like that? Because he had other bodyguards.
Well, Cassie filed that the lawsuit. And I believe I've seen you speak on Kim Porter about stuff
Right.
you've seen in the past. So at
Right,
what
like,
point,
go ahead.
I was saying, at what point did you start to see stuff?
The first incident that I found out about Puff and Kim Porter, I was called by Kirk Burrows and Paul. It was Kirk Burrows, I think. And I had to go over to, Puff didn't have no security. He was over St. Luke's Hospital. Him and Kim had got into an incident where she had took a corkscrew and cut his wrist, his right wrist. So I was asked to go over there. And right then I found out that they had an altercation. Kim looked like she was bruised up. And Puff had his wrist wrapped up in a t-shirt that was constantly, there was just blood everywhere. And come to find out, she had cut, I think probably an artery or something in his wrist with a corkscrew. So that's the first altercation I know of Kim and Puff having a certain situation.
Pretty crazy thing to go through at that point.
Well, that was that was him and his girl, and I didn't see the altercation. I only saw the aftermath of the altercation. And it seemed like she probably got the best of him that time. To me.
Okay, so now you go through this incident with Puff, and you kind of see the aftermath of everything, man. You know, what's your kind of general thoughts about everything that you go through at the time?
On that particular situation?
Yeah.
Well, you got to realize is that Puff was a part of our crew. And at the time, he was an underling. And he's not the Puff Daddy that y'all know and y'all see. You understand? He still was like a nobody trying to make it to me. You understand? So, in that point, he was still trying to be around the same gang, even though he had Big and Craig Mack for Bad Boy Records. They hadn't blown up yet. Craig Mack record was the one that was being played and hot. Biggie was not, Biggie at the time, the Notorious Big. So Puff wasn't even trying to even rap. He was just trying to promote, help the street team, and help everybody to blow Bad Boy up to what he wanted to be. So you know, he's not the same individual that y'all see now than he was back then. You got to realize this was like in 90, this was 91, and then I left him alone. Then after that Suge Knight thing happened, I came back. So this is like 94, 95. You understand what I'm saying? So he was just happy for somebody like me who had that status of those different crews to be his big unk to look out for him so nobody would do nothing to him. So now, if you're speaking about allegations with Kim and everything like that, a lot of that stuff started happening after I think around the time Ms. Lopez and him was breaking up.
Oh, okay. So that's when you seen things kind of get worse, or you just started seeing things in general?
Well, just I wouldn't say worse because Puff never did things like that around me. He knew I didn't play that. He tried cursing his mother around me, and I checked him on that. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to realize he had other bodyguards, and he wouldn't do certain things around me because I'm a law enforcement officer, and I wasn't going to let him do that. I've been I did 27 years as a parole officer. And I'm like, at the time, our relationship, I was like his big unk. So I'm not gonna let him do stupid stuff to get himself in trouble or me in trouble. So a lot of that stuff that is probably happened after I left, you understand, other than, you know, the swinging stuff that he did with Kim and other guys and everything.
Okay, talk to me about that a little bit.
I don't know what you want to know about that, Cam. You know, you're talking about this is your girl, this is your woman. She didn't even have Christian at the time, but you bring other guys in with her, and then sometimes be just other girls and her, then other guys, then guys and girls, and they swinging, they doing their thing, bro. You know, I guess that's what the industry is. They like to swing like that. You know, the rock stars do it. I guess the rappers was doing it too.
Was that stuff surprising to you, or were you used to it being
Oh
around the
yeah.
music business?
I'm not gonna have Cam. That's surprising to anybody. You know, who gonna have their girl having sex with another man because you can have sex with their girl, or y'all switching and y'all? Nah, man. That's some beyond me. But I know it happens.
Mark Curry has said in an interview that Puff broke Kim Porter's nose when they were fighting on a yacht. Did you ever see anything like that or hear about anything like that?
I've never seen Puff put his hands on Kim like that, other than snatching her and grabbing her or something like that. But as far as no, I heard of the nose breaking. That was something that I heard of that.
I seen somewhere that, you know, he treated J-Lo different than he treated Cassie and Kim.
Well, I know that I never seen him with the play fight like he used to do with Kim, because that's how it would start off. He would start off with the play fight, hitting her with pillows and all like that. I guess that love tap, I don't know, that I wasn't into that. I've never been into that with women. So he would start off like that. Then it would always probably go up to something, a higher level, or where she wanted him to stop playing with her like that because he may have gotten a little too rough for her. But I never seen him do Ms. Lopez like that. And when J-Lo was around, I used to always just call her Miss Lopez. He would do the flirtation and like have a lot of girls around and then try to play her like that. But, you know, she would check that. And I put in my book one particular night where she was in the we was in the studio and a lot of girls was up there, and J-Lo got Miss Lopez got mad and she went home and she put on some jeans and sneakers and put her hair back into a little bun and a ponytail, and she came back to the studio and Puff had a new song for her because she was heated and he got rid of all those girls that was in the studio. So he never tried to, straight up, talk to her crazy or anything around people. Never. I never even heard him raise his voice to her.
Okay. Totally different. Totally different than
Totally different. But you got to realize with Kim them and most other people that I've seen him be around, they depended on him. Ms. Lopez didn't depend on him. She had her own.
Okay. Now, Suge and Diddy had this huge, feud going on. There's this picture that recently came out of Suge playing with Diddy's son. What did you think when you seen that?
We had saw this picture, and it wasn't the ones that was recently released. It was a picture of Suge hugging Mase, and Mase having Justin in her arms, and the thing said, "What the East Coast won't take care of, the caption said, "What the East Coast won't take care of, the West Coast will." Puff saw that and almost blew a stack in his head. A vein came across his head. I mean, like he was heated. And he got on the phone. I guess he was trying to reach Mase. He was trying to, he was going crazy. And recently, I had told that story on another platform, and I told the story before, and then somebody said they don't believe it. It didn't happen. I was just capping all this other stuff. And now the photo gets released by I don't know who, and Suge Knight is playing Play Daddy on the floor with Justin. And somebody's taking the pictures of him and everything. I know Puff was probably, I don't know if he probably was still mad at that today to see that. Because he probably didn't know those pictures existed.
In the lawsuit, it talks about a situation where they heard about Suge being at a restaurant and Puff they allegedly went to grab some guns and go after him or something, man. Do you know anything about that situation?
The part I know about the situation, it wasn't the fact that Suge was at the restaurant. D-Rock, Big's man, was at the restaurant. And they had D-Rock trapped in the restaurant. Now, this story came from D-Rock himself, because I was wondering, I was trying to have a sit down with D-Rock and Puff, and I wanted to have a sit down with D-Rock first and let him know all what happened and how did Big end up going to the party when I told y'all not to go to the party. And that's the party that Big got murdered at. So D-Rock told me how Puff, loaded up some guns and everything and had one of the girls, and I didn't know it was Cassie at the time. His girl came into the restaurant with the guns, giving it to him so he could be safe from whatever was going to go down or whatever they thought was going to go down, with Suge and his people. So that part was true because that was told to me by the person who was in the restaurant.
Was that the only situation like that you're aware of?
About what?
About Puff and Suge.
Man, the times we saw Suge, you got to realize, I was part of Black Hands and Slick in the Family. The time I saw Suge I never had a problem with Suge. You understand what I'm saying? So it was never no issues. I seen Suge at the Super Bowl. It was no problem, no issue with Puff. We saw Suge in the back of the House of Blues, and Tupac was alive at the time. Tupac was in a white top, a white drop top Rolls Royce, Bentley, whatever that is. Suge was in a red one. We rose up to Pac, and Puff tried to speak to Pac. He like, "Yo, what up, Pac?" Pac looked at him and turned his head. Didn't say nothing to him, got right back on his phone. And the dude in the back of Puff at the time was named Riz. Riz said, yo, F him, speak to Suge. Suge is the boss, right? So then Puff said something to Suge. He said, yo, what up, Suge? He said, what's up? He said, yo, you think we got any problems out here? Suge said, I don't know no problems that y'all have. You think we good out here? He said, you should be. Suge just, I don't know any problems you got, bruh. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
And Pac was alive then. You understand? We drove off. We had a reporter with us. I think he was from either Rolling Stones or that other big magazine. So never had no issues with Suge or nothing like that. Even at the Soul Train Awards, when it was Pac and Big going at it. You know, they had us outnumbered, but the FOI was right there too. But it wasn't no issue like that. It was just a lot of mouthing and talking between Pac and Big.
Do you remember what they were saying or what the main issue was that they were talking about at the time?
What I was told was because another officer was there with me who worked with me at my job because I brought him out there with us. He told me that verbatim, Pac started yelling to him, now you on the West Coast. Now you on the West Coast. You on the West Coast, you fat motherfucker. Now you on, talking to Big like that. Big said, man, I don't care where I'm at, I ain't scared. You understand? Big man stepped in front of Big, and that was C Gutter. You understand? They start coming close. Suge was in front of Pac, holding Pac back to the side. C Gutter pulls a gun out on Suge. When C Gutter pulled the gun out on Suge, the FOI just came and rushed and got in the middle of everything.
What was Puffy doing? Because I definitely heard a couple different people say that Puffy ran.
What happened was we was running to the thing. I was with Puff. We was running to the thing. And this is exactly how it happened. And I don't care what nobody say, bro. So now we was running to the event, to where they was at. We had got stopped by some FOI guys. Puff was getting into it with them. Mustafa, who was Farrakhan's son, stopped the whole incident right there. So he let us go. We was running through there. So now I see Suge and them there at the bottom of the steps, coming up the steps. Puff was right here on my left side. On down, it's an embankment where you could jump down and go behind the television media vans. So I told Puff, I'm like this, and I tell Puff, man, just watch out for my family, man. There ain't nothing gonna happen to you. You good. Trust and believe. And so then we start walking. As soon as we got to that wall right there, you could jump down. Puff just jumped down. And then he started running towards the media vans. Then he went up under the fence of the media vans. It's just those little wire fence. You know how they separate the things, the little wires. He pulled it up, went up under the media van, and then next thing I seen him in the middle of the parking lot, and Suge and them had walked past me.
Okay. So they had a long feud going. You've been coming out for a while, talking about Puffy, Biggie, Bad Boy, and everything that you've seen and went through has a bodyguard. Have you gotten any death threats, or has anything happened, or has anybody approached you and tried to do anything to you?
I get death threats every week, every day, and I've been getting them ever since I came out. So I'm not worrying about anybody doing anything to me. Listen to me. God ain't finished with me yet. When he is, ain't nothing I can do about it, bro. You got to realize every day I went to work as a parole officer, my life was in danger. Every day I worked at a nightclub at Suge's Rendezvous, my life was in danger. Every day I worked at a housing complex in New York City, which was Lambert Housing, one of the worst housing complex that anybody could do security at. That's where the Purple Top gang was at. I was there during that time. Eastchester Housing. I was there when Jamaican Posse was up there. Lambert Housing. I was there when it was crazy over there. Every day of my life, I always had my life was threatened, or I probably couldn't make it home to my kids. And you know I got God on my side, and I take all precautions. I keep my head on the swivel, and I'm not worried about what somebody say they're gonna do to me. I never have, never will. When you grow up in a place like Wellston, you know what I'm saying? People didn't stop at the stop sign, brother. You ask anybody around St. Louis City about Wellston. You don't go through Wellston and stop at a stop sign. I grew up from that type of neighborhood. So when God gets ready for me, ain't nothing I can do about it, bro.
Well, okay, and now working with Puff, Bad Boy and everything, man. Casey files this lawsuit against Puff. Were you surprised, and what was your initial thoughts when you first seen the lawsuit filed?
When the lawsuit was filed, my initial thoughts on that whole thing is that it was based on because she has some celebrity status. I've gotten calls from two different women who told me that they were trying to press charges against Puff and wanted to come on my platform and tell the people what he done to them. And they said they couldn't get lawyers to take it. Now you got lawyers willing to take anything anybody has to say. Our justice system is messed up, brother, because if you ask those ladies who are coming out now, they probably tried to get a lawyer to take it long time ago, but they wouldn't because of the powers that be. Now that Puff is losing that power, lawyers are willing to go to court and try to get money from him, from their clients, and what people are saying he did to them.
Do you believe everything that she said? Do you think it's all accurate?
I believe what he paid for.
What do you mean by what he paid for? Oh, you mean the 30? Okay, you talking about the settlement that happened the next day.
Right.
So everything that was in the lawsuit.
I don't know all the things that were said, but you're not gonna pay for nothing that you didn't do. So whatever he paid for in that lawsuit, I believe.
In the paperwork, it says that he was addicted to painkillers and ecstasy. Have you ever seen anything like that, or when you were around him?
I knew he was addicted to painkillers, because after that that incident with Kim, he used to have this little white guy he used to meet, or he would have the drivers go get the pills that he was addicted to from this little white guy who was selling him them opioids.
Why do you think it took so long for people to come out and say something?
Like I said before, I don't think it took so long. It took somebody with celebrity status who had a legal team that was willing to go to war for her in order to get some justice for her in a compensation matter in a civil suit. I believe there is a lot of guys, a lot of people in that industry that have done things, and people can't get lawyers to go to bat for them.
Yeah, there's been a long list of other celebrities since this happened that it came out and a lot of other celebrities started to get sued, what do you think about that list? And, is there anything there that you've heard about?
Well, I've heard about a couple of things, but you got to realize is that it's what they can prove. Like uh, with this Weinstein thing. Weinstein. Just take Jimmy Iovine for example. Jimmy Iovine got a lawsuit, but you don't see it on the news. Why? Why you don't see it on the news? People have been coming out saying things that he said that he did to them, but because his publicists and the people at that be is not allowing that to go down on him. Puff did some things to some powerful people that they're calling in their friends and everything, and everybody's taking their hands off of him. So now he's no longer the altar boy, and he's not in their club anymore. Did you hear him on Jimmy Kimmel? He said, "Yo, I thought we was friends." Jimmy Kimmel knew he wasn't supposed to ask Puff anything about me, but he's not part of the boys club anymore.
This right here is going to ruin him, man. It's going to ruin his legacy, everything that he worked for.
No, he ruined his legacy, brother. People is trying to say like, yo, y'all going after black man, y'all trying to tear a black man down. No, it's a big difference from a nigga and a black man. He was doing shit to people that he never thought that it would come back at him. Now, if he never did anything to those girls, if those girls was lying, then he would have never settled out. It was a girl that came out, Cam, 2.5 years before Cassie came out, and went on a major platform and told him how he was kicking her, beating her, and made her get rid of 2 kids. A girl named Gina came out on a major platform that he was dating, that she had texts from Cassie, and her and Cassie was texting each other back and forth, and Cassie was saying, "I don't hate you, I know how he is," and they was talking about each other and talking to each other. She came out 2 years ago. So you tell me, Cam, why didn't nobody take her case?
Maybe they didn't believe, I could guess. Maybe they didn't believe him because he's puffy. He got a lot of star power. He could fight back.
She had no lawyers or nobody that was interested in going through that battle and that long drawn out court battle that they had to file papers. They had to do that 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years down the road, she ain't coming up with a dime. Cassie had the lawyers and the people who put the money behind the lawyers to make sure that her case was clammed tight so she could win. You don't get those type of lawyers, man, without somebody putting some money behind you. Those were high-profile lawyers that had won major cases.
Right. Puffy would be a very hard target to go after if you're a lawyer. It would absolutely burn up a whole bunch of money. So if you're not rich or you don't have at least a lot of money, it's going to be really hard to really go through that and fight it in the public. Puffy knows everybody. He knows the media. Everybody likes Puffy. It's an uphill battle for sure. I can see that.
And that's what happened, brother. Yo, is women probably gonna jump out the woodwork and say, yo, I had a case against him. I told this lawyer, I told that lawyer, nobody did nothing. Now you got lawyers calling people or putting up billboards. If you got anything on Puffy, P. Diddy, Brother Love, Sean John Combs, Call us. The lawyers are looking for people right now.
It definitely made it. He definitely made him an easier target now. Now everybody believes it, and everybody's got their hands out. Right.
Right.
Well,
Like
also,
nobody believed me about the shit I was saying, and now everybody got Gene Deal stories in their mouth and on their programs.
at what point do you think all this came out of Puffy? Like, did you see a change, or was there a point
Bruh,
where things got
I
different?
believe when I seen Puff on camera smoking a cigarette, and I said, that's not the Puff that I know. To smoke a cigarette? I believe that opioids addiction changed his whole life and changed who he was. He's quietly an addict. So is he responsible for some of the shit that he did? Because of his addiction, yes, he is. But it has a lot to do with drugs, bruh. And that brother might need some help.
Well, do you see any legal problems coming from any of this?
It's based on what they find in discovery. We know that we have people that's putting a civil suit against them. We know there's people that's putting a civil suit against them. But in that civil suit, if they find something criminal, then there might be a prosecutor who say, yo, listen to me. I want to bring this in. Because we could prove this.
What do you think the odds are that there's an investigation into him right now?
Well, I think the governor made some kind of, they passed some kind of law on the 17th of November. That's why he hurried up and made, because they've been going through this for 6 months. And it was a law being passed by Governor Holcomb that, whether you sign a non-disclosure or not, if somebody commit a crime and everything like that, you're able to come out and say something against them or tell your story, and you won't lose anything that you made an agreement to. So they passed that law, I think, on November the 17th. So he hurried up and made a settlement so we don't learn the other 32 things that Cassie had in the lawsuit. She had like 60 different things in the lawsuit. They cut it down to 38. So now we're looking at the fact that if a prosecutor come in, and even in Cassie's case, if they could find anything that's criminal that they could bring against him, they can. That trafficking was criminal.
One of the most recent lawsuits that he's had, a woman claimed that she was in 1991. Was there ever any time where you've seen some women who looked like they might have been drugged or they might have been on heavy on?
I told this story. They had gave a party on New Year's Eve at Madam C.J. Walker's house, right, in her mansion. And I had my girl, her friend, and it was a big party, New Year's Eve party. I went looking for my girl, and I couldn't find her nowhere. It was crazy. And I'm going in bathrooms, I'm knocking down doors, I'm going through every door in the house opening doors, people in there in situations, drinking, the whole 9 yards. I even go outside, it's cold. I'm looking at people's car, I'm looking at cars and everything like that. Then I finally just go to my car, and she was in there asleep with her girlfriend. You understand? I was wondering what happened. And she said that she was drinking champagne and all of a sudden she got dizzy. So she went to the car. She made it to the car. So I knew those people who was at that party, somebody had drank the champagne or the orange juice or something. Cause my girl was in the car asleep. Her and her girlfriend, knocked out. And they hadn't been at the party for an hour or two. So it's a possibility that that happens a lot, that happen to people.
You know, everything that's happened and came out and all these allegations, you know, where do you see things going from here with Puff? Do you think he's ever going to be able to recover? Do you think he's going to ever get the trust of people again? You know, a lot of people still don't believe it. A lot of people are still like, you know, riding with Puff at this time.
Well, that's okay. And I believe that he may have an opportunity once he gets off the drugs, once he cleans himself up, he may have something to offer. But until he decides that he's not going to be an addict no more and addicted to the lifestyle that he is and he was used to, ain't no insurance company, ain't no company, or nobody going to ever deal with him. Because now he's a liability.
One thing I've seen a lot of people say was they want to hear from Young Miami.
She's standing by her man. That's what she said, right? I'm standing by my man.
Did she say that? I must have missed it.
Yeah, I think she said that when they was over in London, that she's standing by her man.
That's crazy. I mean, you know, he might not be treating her like that.
I don't know. It's different when a lady says she like to be on and she dealing with somebody. That came out her mouth.
Right, I remember.
So you ain't gonna give her what she like?
So she might be actually into all this stuff. Or not, you know, not all of it, but some of the stuff that
may not bother her.
It might not bother her and she might actually like it.
She can go get her Birkin bag the next day.
So to kind of take it back a little bit before we get out of here, you know, the night the Big passes away, Mase recently came out and said that there was a bunch of bloods outside of his hallway at the hotel. Is there anything to that, or did you say anything like that?
Well, when I got there, it was a few people there that could have been bloods. They had red on and stuff like that, but it wasn't no 70 dudes. When I got there, what Mase saw, I don't know what he saw, but it's 2 occasions I went and got Mase. One time he was in the, I think the Century Club in Cali. During that time, I got him out the Century Club. And then early that morning, when Puff had got on a plane and left Mase, we went and got him and let him, some dudes from Black Hands, we went and got Mase. Mase came down, went to his car, and he got up out of there.
Do you know who was in there or what was going on, or?
Bruh, when I was traveling with Black Hands, that's the Black Gorilla family. And Black Hands, when I was traveling with those dudes and rocking with them, They ain't worrying about nobody. We wasn't worrying about nobody. I went to Mace's room, got Mase. Mase came down, got in his car and left. You know, if it was 70 Bloods at one time, that it could a possibility. You understand? It's a possibility. There was a few guys that was dressed in red that you know, my man them knew, a couple of my dudes knew them. And they were Bloods. So I can't deny what he say he saw or what he did, but when we got there, it wasn't nobody like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you scared, 7 could look like 70.
So you think Mase might have just been scared? I mean, after, Big did just get killed.
You had every right to be. Big just got killed. The guy who got you out there and everything jumps on the first plane smoking and leave you out there, you would feel some kind of way too.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that, man. Gene, man, I appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, bro.
All right. Salute.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.